But yeah,
Great.
let's just have
Hi
a great
everyone.
conversation.
Yeah. So hi everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We're waiting a little bit to sync up to all of our servers. Once we do, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Really excited for today's episode. If you are on LinkedIn or any of our other channels, feel free to chat, ask us questions in the episode, and me and our great guest David today will help answer that. So just give us a few seconds to link up to all our accounts, and then we'll get started. Okay, the last one is seeming to sync up here. Almost there. All right, and we're started. So we're gonna get started in 2 seconds here. So welcome back to Coach Connect. Here's where we explore the stories and strategies and insights from trailblazers who are transforming the world of coaching and well-being. What drives their success? What fuels their passion for helping others? We're here to uncover their secrets and share them with you. This show is brought to you by Vibely.io, the all-in-one coaching platform designed to empower coaches with tools, resources, and support we need to thrive and help our clients achieve meaningful, long-lasting growth. I'm Dr. Diego Salinas, your guide on this journey. As a neuroscientist, physician, health coach, and co-founder of Vibely, I'm committed to celebrating the incredible work of coaches everywhere and helping them unlock their full potential. So together, let's dive in deep into what makes coaching a powerful force of change. My guest today, David Chung, is a coach as Coaches of Entrepreneur podcast. Sorry, let me start again. My host David Chung is a technologist and business architect who helps coaches build scalable, predictable coaching businesses. For more than 12 years, he's worked at the intersection of technology, coaching, and entrepreneurship, has led the operational and digital backbone of Marshall Goldsmith's Stakeholder Center Coaching, as well as Global Coaching Group, two of the world's most recognized executive coaching organizations. Davis helped certify over 3,500 coaches across 6 continents, pioneering global e-learning systems, certification technology, and digital operations that connect coaches worldwide long before remote learning was mainstream. Today, through his company Kyber Five, David builds marketing operation systems that power modern coaches' businesses. His flagship framework, Coach Ops, helps coaches replace unpredictable referrals with reliable marketing systems, bringing structure to how they attract, nurture, and convert clients. David's philosophy is simple: visibility creates opportunity. Coaches don't need more hustle, they need clear systems that make expertise discoverable and scalable. He also shares ideas weekly on his podcast, Coach as Entrepreneur, where he interviews coaches who've turned their practice into thriving businesses, and through his LinkedIn newsletters, The Coach Shift, which explores mindset and business transitions behind successful coaching careers. He's certified by Global Coaching Group and IDOU. David continues to bring human-centered design with business strategy, helping others grow not just as coach, but as entrepreneurs. So, David, welcome to the podcast. Really excited to have you on here today.
Thank you. My that intro was really long. I apologize.
It's okay. I bumbled a little bit through that, but hey, you have a lot of background, David, and maybe instead of me describing your background, really, we always start the episode by saying kind of what led you to be here, right? What got you into coaching? How you discovered that, and now your passion for helping others.
Yeah, so I kind of fell into coaching. The I came out to Korea about 14 years ago, and I was only supposed to be here for 3 months, but I ended up staying, a little bit
A
longer than
3 hour
that.
tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, and at the time, I was kind of just, I was just doing some jobs. I was doing a lot of media work. And I got introduced to somebody, Will Linson, who at the time he was doing the international certification for Marshall Goldsmith. And they were looking to build out their online learning and their technology. And so he was looking for somebody to help them with their video, I got introduced to him, and so we actually just started working together on a part-time basis where I was helping to create their online learning. And then from there, it kind of just snowballed where we did videos, and then they needed to figure out what do we do with these videos, how do we present them, and then we came up with like LMS online learning systems, and then from there it was like, okay, we want to do online trading, how do we do that? And so we figured out how to wire all of that together 12 years ago, before Zoom and everybody else figured out how to do this. um, Yeah, and I kind of just continued moving up the ranks in the organization where, doing automations and marketing systems, and then helping with the certification processes and then building applications and running teams.
Yeah. So kind of, I think common theme here is opportunity presents itself. You have to be ready for it, right? Like that kind of the entrepreneurial journey really is you don't know what's going to happen when you start the journey exactly, right? You kind of dive in
Yeah.
and we mentioned David earlier, the saying in Spanish I love that the road is created from walking, right? That the 3 months turned into 12 years where you were quite literally a trailblazer forming new systems that we now take for granted, right? Because you saw a need
Yep.
there to support
Yep.
people. And I think that's all I think what entrepreneurs do in general is they find needs and follow solutions.
Yeah. I mean, I would have never dreamt of being in Korea when I was, 12 years old. This was never my dream. And y- when that opportunity opens itself up for you, you got to decide to go for it. And so, um, that's what I did. I feel blessed because the work that I did and, getting falling into kind of this coaching world, I learned so much from so many people, and I got to watch some of the best coaches getting trained and learning, and I got a lot of hours of just observation through what I thought was just like a temporary job.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same by Newton. We see so far, staying on shoulders of giants, right? That sometimes this
Hmm.
is a kind of there's inspiration, there's learning, and there's so many unique paths to this journey that sometimes it's a lot of creativity. And like most artists, the more let's say you listen to music, the more creative you are
Yeah.
creating new music, right? That you have to really immerse yourself a little bit. And Coach David, what do you think about like we talked a lot. I talked a lot of coaches. You and I both do, and kind of that the mindset shift that coaches need to start transitioning from being a coach to starting
Yeah.
their own practice. Speak a little on if you can speak a little to this change.
Yeah. So what I've noticed, and I've been talking to coaches for the last 12 years, but I this last year, as I've been really working on building out this podcast, I've been doing a lot more interviews and conversations and really trying to dive deep into that, understanding more of what coaches are thinking and going through. And I've been interviewing coaches from all over the world, from South America to Australia and South Africa, Europe, right? And so the thing that I've noticed is that the coaches are incredibly intelligent people who really want to help and change. They want to create impact. Um, Most of the time they're very successful in their corporate businesses, and so they end up taking a massive pay cut a lot of the time. But what I've noticed is that most coaches are subject matter experts. They know how to do their job really well, and so when they get into coaching, they learn how to coach really well. But I've gotten the sense that they got so used to it being good at one role that once they get into coaching, they don't realize that they're signing up to be entrepreneurs, right? And so becoming an entrepreneur is something completely like a complete different like mindset. And so you're no longer just thinking about your one role, your responsibilities, because once you start building a business, everything is your responsibility. You have to start thinking about all of it from marketing and sales to what technology am I using, am I going to hire an accountant or am I going to try to do this on my own? And so it's vastly different from just, you know, I'm just going to focus on doing my job and just doing that well.
Yeah, yeah. It's the I remember when I started doing my own journey, it was, I love coaching and not only setting things up, but even when you're working with clients, right? When you're only an employee, it's just about that camera on, camera off kind of client work, and maybe you do some notes here and there, right? Then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how do I send a contract? What payment system do I use? Like, what are my office hours, right? Like, should I use my phone or not use my phone, right? And really, you're in charge of the client experience the whole way through, which I think is a big difference as well. Like, you really have to think of the client journey, not just where you fit in a large organization.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just I think a lot of coaches, they love to coach and they really want to help. And so and they think that all they need to do is just I just need to get my certification. I just need to put my sign up and that's going to people will start to come to me. But that is not true at all, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows you. You don't have a, you know, unless you've been a leader in that or in an organization, they don't know that you're doing this thing called coaching or leadership development. They don't nobody really knows that you exist. And so, that's like that is the hardest part when new coaches get into starting their businesses. They don't know how to create visibility. They don't know how to, or they're afraid of,
Mm,
putting themselves out there.
yeah. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, you're really
No,
touching
no, no.
something I hear a lot.
It's, it again, this is like in the US, what is it? It's like 80% of businesses fail in the first year, right?
Mm,
It's some very high statistic like that. And it's hard to create something from the ground up, to create visibility and to create, you know, word of mouth like reputation and building that up. And if you're afraid to talk about your business and and you can't clearly explain that to, your neighbor or the value that you bring to just anybody within like 15 seconds, it's going to be really hard for you to build your business. And so, you know, getting over yourself, that fear is hard, but we were talking about just before, which is like nobody nobody really is paying that much attention to you or what you're doing. And even when you start to like talk about what you're doing, they'll kind of just, you know, maybe scroll by it. They'll see it and scroll by. Um, and so you really need to figure out like, so one, nobody really cares, but two, like they're not really judging you most of the time. And if they are, they've got other they've got other issues going on, you know?
yeah.
Um, but it's this fear of kind of putting yourself out there that I think holds a lot of coaches back. And if you're really thinking about you want to help people and change lives, you need to be able to tell a lot of people about what you're doing and how you change their lives so that they're going to want to work with you. Because if you can't do that, you only can work for, a period of time. Whatever your run rate is, how much money you have in savings for you to do this thing of coaching. Unless you can make that money, you're going to be able to only help so many people. So I think the goal for coaches is to realize and recognize, I want to help 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. If you're going to do that, you need to talk about what you do and how you do that. And you have to be basically telling that to everybody, or else
Yeah.
nobody knows that you're there to help them. And you, like, by by nature of the fact that you're not talking about it, you can't help people and you're not going to be able to achieve that goal that you have.
Yeah, David, again, we both talked to so many coaches from different backgrounds, from the teaching component as well. And when you hear these objections we'll have, well, I hear this a lot. They go, I love coaching, but I don't like tech and marketing, right? And people say this often as if, almost in secret whispers, like they're the only ones. And I go, you know what? That's all of us, because otherwise we would have been engineers or we would have been marketers, right? And so
Yeah.
my mom says, listen, every job has something that you don't love. If it was so much fun in every part of it, they wouldn't pay you money to do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like, I love being an entrepreneur, co-founder of Vibely. Doesn't mean I love my email stacking up, but it's part of that
Yeah.
journey. And so I heard
Yeah.
a coach on our platform who he sort of people cut hair. He said, I just want to cut hair. Well, yeah,
Mm.
but if you are on a salon, there's other stuff to do before and afterwards. And I think it could feel like this mountain of things. Well, I don't know how to do with sales or marketing, right? Right? All coaches, maybe 6 months ago, if you just graduated, you had no idea how to coach either. And so I think coaches put ourselves this block, like, I don't know how to do this. Yeah, everything I learned at some point.
Yeah.
Let me step back. I'll tell a funny story. When I was in residency, I was teaching medical students and that kind of stuff. I ask a leading question. I say, who here wants to learn, right? And like, who's gonna say no to the teacher, right? So they say, yeah, right? And I'm like, what's a prerequisite for learning? So say curiosity, being open-minded, da da da. I go, the most important prerequisite for learning is not knowing.
Hmm.
You have to be ignorant to something to learn about it, right? And so don't look at not knowing as like, well, that's a problem. That's just the first step. Like, I'm aware I don't know this thing, and I'm aware
Yeah.
it's going to take a lot of steps to learn this stuff, which when it's with something like entrepreneurship is a little art, right? So the more I think
Hmm.
we've helped solve the tech issues from being a barrier, I talked to someone yesterday. I'll be honest with you. She's been 10 months working on her website and this and this. I'm like, you can have your profile today. And she's like, but I'm working on the site. I'm like, you spent on your site about 3 years of value subscription already, and you could have been done by today, right? And so I said, can I
Yeah.
pause you here? You're asking
Yeah.
questions 10th of the line. You got to take that first step. Your real blocker is not the tech, it's not your engineer, it's you being afraid to be out there a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and that is people have a fear of, public speaking, right? Like public speaking is that the greatest fear that most people have, even greater than death. And I think that comes from a fear of being judged, of not being liked or whatever. And I think that plays out with coaches when it comes to building their business, talking about what they're doing, putting out their website. But I mean, honestly, 10 months on, I can understand wanting to make the perfect website. But the truth is, like when I talk to coaches about their websites, they've spent, 6 months, 10 months, couple $1,000s on their web building their websites. Websites look great, but their messaging, because they haven't necessarily talked to enough people or done enough of the work, their messaging isn't right. So 2 years later, they still have the same website and they don't like it, right? And so what,
You're all time. All right, site's out of
right?
date. Yeah.
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 And the truth is like, I, it would, in the perfect world, you're going to come up with the perfect website. We don't live in a perfect world. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're building, you only have so much time, right? And you only have so much money. And so you need to be able to get your word out there as quickly as possible. So I love what you guys are doing with the your profile website pages, right? It's great SEO, it looks good. It gets them out there. What I tell coaches is I know coaches who have built their whole business off of their LinkedIn profile, right?
Mm,
And they're doing well. And for other factors than just their profile. But it proves the point that you don't necessarily need a great website and you don't really need to spend ton of time on it. You need
yeah.
to create something that talks about what you do. I advocate for building it on your own platform, having your own domain, and that's purely because at any time, if you're on LinkedIn, they can cut you off. But if you're if you have your own website, you own that, right? So that's your own asset. So I tell coaches, let's just build an MVP website. Build out a one pager that talks about who you are, what you do, why you do it, how to start working with you, right?
Yeah.
And get it out there. And then as you have conversations, you're going to start to realize, okay, I actually, these are the kinds of people I want to work with. This is actually not the work I want to do. I want to do it a little bit differently. And so instead of spending a lot of time guessing and trying to make it perfect, I, I really push for this MVP, which is minimum viable product. It comes from more of, IT sector, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is create something, put it out there, test it, and then build and iterate on that idea. Because
Yeah.
the scariest thing to do is to spend 10 months, 2 years on something and then put it out there and then nothing happens. You spent a lot of time, a lot of money on it, but then what? So
Yeah.
I tell people just put it out as quickly as possible. Nothing will ever be perfect, but once you get out there, you know what's working and what's not working much sooner, and you can start actually getting people to come in and start clicking on or booking calls with you, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what's really important when you're doing your business.
Yeah, I think the MVP is and to the story that happened to me also when I first started launching. Right, I'm not immune to this. Like research is research, right? Like I'm not. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a very visual creative person. I like playing guitar. I can mess around with audio kind of levels and EQ, but deciding where it goes and what size font and the layout is just not my domain. So I had outsourced that, but still spent way too long trying to do, to your point, all this stuff without having the experience of getting out there. And the reality is, you don't, if you're not sure who your clients are, well, let me tell you a few things. First, if you're starting off, people say, well, what niche do I want? Who do I want to serve? You're going to learn that too. The same way when I was in medical school, I learned what I wanted to do by rotating different things, right? So don't spend a year working on a geriatric site and then 6 months later, you're like, you know what? I actually prefer coaching students, right? So like you can experiment. And I think this person yesterday I was talking to was saying, oh, because I'm going to do some SEO. I'm like, you don't have a website. You're thinking of spending more money on SEO. If you don't know what the language is that your clients want to know, right? And again, this is the reality, and I'm not immune to this. It happens to me too. Preparing can be productive procrastination. You entrepreneur, you have to learn by doing it. And so I go, I told her, what's the function of a website? I go, can I be frank with you? The odds are if you put a site today, it's someone's gonna have a health coach or a leadership coach, and you're gonna be the first one on Google is not necessarily a realistic expectation. I go, so what's a website function? What does it do, right? It says that who you are, that you're a real person, what you're offering, and there's a call to action, right? To book a call, to schedule something. I go, so your point, we did that for a Viably profile. We ask clients, what do you want to know by your coach? So a lot of people I talk to who are in your position, David, helping people start their brand, all stuff, they'll say, do the MVP first. Do the profile because it actually has all the content we're going to need anyway.
Yeah.
It's laid out nicely. It has the calls to action. You can edit it easily. And I heard a phrase at a conference I loved. I say, make this your sloppy copy. About me, I'm a coach figuring it out. Next week it'll be a little different. Like my elevator speech is because I've done so many of them and fumbled so many of them, right? And for my first start, I was like, oh, this is neuroscience, and I would lose people, right? And now I'm just like more direct. But I only got here because of the learnings, right? I only learned to skate because all times I fell and got up. And so this,
Yeah.
if you're spending a few months on doing something and you don't have MVP, when I'll give you a story that really warmed my heart because the proof of concept here is was helping unblock coaches.
Hmm.
One of our earlier podcast guests, Shelby Garay, she's a now director of Headspace Coach Training Program. I remember she mentioned to me, she's like, I've been coaching for a long time. She's taught FMCA, started a Headspace program. And she's like, I never had a site for myself, Again, kind of wasn't like me, wasn't maybe the most into building sites. She's like, when I found out Vibely, I did it all in an hour and a half on a Sunday. Right. So, like, for everyone who's blocked by today, you could have something up that then tomorrow
Yeah.
you can edit and change and progress. But it's not planting the seed. The last analogy I'll say is that the famous metaphor. It's like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 2 years ago. When's the second
Yeah.
best time? Right now.
No. Yeah.
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 I mean, and that's the thing is that we get so caught up in the appearance or what other people, the fear of being judged, that we don't take the action today. But if you don't take the action today, if you don't start building or putting out your website or start thinking about your email marketing, building a database, when are you going to start? And by the time you realize you need to start, you're you're probably way too late, honestly. Most coaches, and I would probably say it's probably about 80, 90% of the coaches I've talked to, the majority of their business relies on referrals, right?
Hmm.
And that's great because referrals are easy sells. Somebody they trust referred you to them, right? And it's the best kind of per lead you want. because there's already the trust factor there. So it's kind of, it's kind of a slam dunk, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing that I hear from coaches is these referral cycles, it's up and down and it's unpredictable. And so when you're down, there's a lot of stress with that, right? Because if if you haven't protected yourself or prepared for yourself financially, then you're just scrambling for it. So what do you do to protect yourself? You need to really figure out how do you create a database and how do you continue to get new people into your system, into your database so that you can continue warming them up to build a relationship with them. Um, because when you build a relationship with them over time, they're going to start to trust you. But that's not going to happen overnight. Uh,
Yeah.
we were talking about the marketing funnel, right? And they talk about it in like there's the top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. Top of funnel is awareness, middle funnel is like interest, consideration, and then bottom is are they going to buy? I talk about it as in visibility. So can people see you? Do they know who you are? Where that you exist? The middle section I talk about building as a relationship. Are you building relationships with these people? Are you continually adding value to them? Are you helping them with some aspect of their life? And then the bottom is, do they trust you? Because once they trust you, then they're going to buy, right? And you need to start doing that from the very beginning as soon as you can with new people because referrals, while great, eventually they dip and you don't know. And if you can continually build relationships with new people, it becomes a numbers game, right?
Yes.
You connect to 100 people a month of new people, they go through your system. Eventually, of those 100 people, you'll get 10 people who will book a call with you, and then you convert one of those people into a new client. You do that every month, 100 people, one client every month. How many clients do you really need in a year? If you're running yearly projects or engagements, right? Then you need, and just for numbers, say like you, one client is $10,000 a month or 10,000 for the year, right? So then you need 10 clients for 1 year to be six figures, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you go through the site. Most coaches never get to this place because they're so afraid of creating visibility. And then if they do start to create visibility, they don't have the systems behind it because it's technology, it's marketing, it's how do I do this or this? And so then, they fumble and spend a lot of time trying to figure it all out. And I've
Yeah.
seen it. And I've been there watching the organizations trying to figure it out and build it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've been there as well too, David. I think it's the awareness part. I might have said it on previous episodes, but I was saying my mom always stuck with me. She's always like, Diego, no one's gonna knock on your door and ask you to go on a date or give you money for your business. You have to go
Right.
out in the world to get those things, right? And I think there's this. I'm gonna maybe call something out that I think happened to me, and I think a lot of coaches won't say this. Was this perception almost that well, if I come out and it's not ready, it's not polished, and it's not whatever, and then they're gonna see this, I'm gonna lose them forever, and then it's like bad reputation. Like it's gonna be like the bad intro, and then I'm on the wrong foot, and I can never recover from this. I think there's a lot of that feeling there. Here's the reality. Another saying in Spanish: the no is there every time you don't ask the question, right? So you're not giving people a chance to see if they like you or not, but more importantly, you are not giving yourself the chance to learn, right?
Yeah.
People say, well, I don't know who my audience is or what they want. And they go, that's their time to start doing research, right? Like you mentioned, you've talked to thousands of coaches. So have I. That's how we start really seeing these patterns of what coaches
Yeah.
want. I've talked to so many families. I've understood what moms and dads tend to need support or general things that come up. So I say, if you need to find out what the word is, talk to those people, ask them, what do you need help on? And don't overcomplicate it. If they say they want more time with their family, don't say, I create systems to improve circadian rhythm and optimize for like, I help you get back to your family time and be present with them. Right. So it is from doing those things that you become this polished version, right? No one the first time was a slam dunk on anything. You have to, just like coaching. First triad was really awkward. Now I'm a pretty decent coach, right? So you're
Yeah.
robbing yourself opportunity to learn by not making this a process oriented model. And I think to your point, the
Right.
last thing I'll say here, David, is that having an expectation of timeline as well, because someone say, well, I talked to someone, didn't land. Most people are not ready to buy from you the moment they meet you, any business, especially when it's a big package that we're offering for coaching.
Yeah.
And so your job is to nurture these leads. And if you do this for long enough, I've seen people come to me sometimes at 8 months after I first met them, they're ready to do this,
Yeah.
right? Or they watch more episodes and
Yeah.
they nudge there, right? Think about you. You had stuff you want to buy for a while, and then at some point you purchase it. Your
Yeah.
clients are no different. Your job is to be available, nurture, open. So I'll pause there. It's through a lot, you, David. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, and that's really true, right? That nurture cycle, I remember for the certification, we had somebody who had got in, and almost 4 years, it is almost 4 years before they bought. And so you know, it takes time and you never really know. But if you don't continue doing the activities to build a relationship, add value to their lives, let them know that you're still there, you don't know when they're ready. But if you keep doing that, when they are ready, they're going to come to you because you're the one that they've been following and listening to for the last 4 years.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I, I often find myself relating this whole thing to dating and getting married.
Mm.
Um, and it's so the number one mistake I see that coaches make on their websites is the book a call button. So the
Mm.
book a call button, you want to have that because you want people to have conversations with you. But if that's your primary call to action on your website, you're you're gonna be losing like 95% of the people coming to your website. And so like I ask coaches like, you know, how many calls, how many clients come from your website? And they're like, I've got like one every other month. And the and it's not because like the website's not good or the content's not good. It's people aren't ready. Like if you went up
Mm.
to someone you found attractive at a bar and you're just like, "Hey, right away, give me your number." Nothing else. They're not going to give you their number. They're not going to want to go out with you with for dinner or want to get married, right? And so it's too much, it's too fast. They're not ready for it. They don't know you well enough. And that's why I
Yeah.
keep talking about like building a relationship. And so what I tell the coaches that I work with, you need to build a lead magnet. You need to give them an easy way
Yes.
to start to get to know you. That's, doesn't feel risky. That's not a call so that they can figure out what kind of value you bring. What are your, you know, what is it that you do and how can you help them? Because, they don't really know that. And, you know, how much effort are they really going to put in to try to figure out and find out all of your thinking and philosophy? So there are coaches that I see like they have a lot of articles on their website, but it doesn't necessarily lend to being easy to find. And so, you know, if I have to spend time trying to figure out does your philosophy match with my philosophy, or what is your approach? Is that something I want to think about? Like you're just gonna go find another website. But if you have a lead magnet, they can put in their email, download it, and they'll interact with it or not. But once you've got that email, you can follow up and contact them again, right?
Right.
It's in that follow up. It's in the continued relationship building that leads to a potential client and a potential book a call. So like marketing statistics, if you look at it, if you can get if you have 100 people come to your website, if you've got that lead magnet, depending on
Mm.
industry, it's something like 10 to 30% of those visitors will download that lead magnet, right? And then from that 10 to 30, so let's just say 10% from 100. So you got 10 people who downloaded your lead magnet. That's way better than the one or two that might have booked a call with you, right? So
Yeah.
just based off of percentages, You go from, let's say, 3 people who would have booked a call to 10 people who downloaded a lead magnet. From those people, you might get 3 people who will book a call with you right away. But you still have 7 more people who you can continue nurture and continue to build a relationship with, so that, down the line in 6 months, you might get another 2, 3 people who will book a call with you. And so this just gives you more opportunity. Book a
Yeah.
call, you need it, but it's too much too fast. It's too high of a hurdle. Lead magnets are much easier, and it just gives you more opportunities.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, David. Kind of the business concept in general is like, having different offers for your clients. So kind of same for your
Hmm.
calls to action should be different kind of ranges. And of course, book call is what we want. We want that discovery call, see if we're a good fit, see if they buy a package, right? But I tell people,
Yeah.
so, and these lead magnets, here's the thing is that it can be really varied how this is done. This is where it comes to what your style is, what your industry is, knowing your ICP, right? Knowing who you are. So I don't mind being on stage. I like talking, I like conversing. I do not like writing. Ask me to write an article, it's gonna take me a little bit, right? So it's like for mine, I like workshops and live events. And to the point of like this, for example, book a free call is an option always. But going to my live event is a lot energetically lower barrier, right? Because it's not. Some people
Hmm.
say, "Well, I don't know if I want to talk to David. He's going to try to sell me. I'm not sure if I'm ready." Right? Like, if I can go to a live event, I can leave my camera off while I'm having coffee, right? Like I've lowered the barrier for someone getting to know me, right? And more importantly, we've got opportunity for them to hear me speak, ask questions, give them the chance to see if there's an attraction, there's a pull, if there's something there. And I do this for Vibely every week. I do some live demos. I have people sometimes come to it twice, maybe a third time. I have another question, right? And then they sign up. You don't choose where they are on their trajectory. I say your job as a business is to have like a sliding glass door. When you're not there, they can open up, read more, learn more, whatever. Not come back
Yeah.
Monday at 9 a.m. when I'm available. Think about how yourself also as your coach, how you buy stuff, right? When I buy a product, I go to the website, tend to go to YouTube, watch a video or two about it, right? I might read something, right? It's not always, it's very seldom someone's going, you know what? I'm going to buy a 5,000 coaching package on the spot here without ever knowing or reading something, right? But if you're
Yeah.
there and you're building, nurturing that lead, when that motivational crisis strikes or they need that, they'll have an answer to that. So your job is to be there, plant the seed for when they're ready to take that next step. Sorry, David, so you get excited about saying something. Yeah.
No, exactly. But that's exactly the thing, right? Because you want to be the voice and the person in their life, so that when they have the problem come up and when they're ready to buy, then you're the go-to person, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not building that relationship, if you're not doing that, they're not going to come to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Even David can say, even referrals, right? Like even people know what
yeah,
you do. I've had people refer people to me and they weren't my client, but they knew what I did and they knew someone would be a good fit for me or they thought it might be and they made a connection, right? So
yeah,
your even your potential leads could be referrals even before they're your clients.
yeah. It's so it's so important to be doing these things, but you know, again, I think there's a mentality of fear, and then it's how do I get this stuff going and getting started, and that's like really, you know, that's really why I started this whole business of like Kyber Five and Coach Ops, because the whole business thing is something that shouldn't be what's limiting you from building your coaching practice, because
Mm,
there's a who's it Marie Forleo who says everything is figure outable, like you can figure it all out. You just need to actually realize you need to be doing it, and then putting
yeah,
effort and time behind it to do it,
yeah,
right? So yeah, when it comes to visibility too, like I see a ton of people who once they start doing it, they're just doing like LinkedIn and they'll do articles. But when it comes to visibility, it's not just social media. They're practically speaking, like the the coaches that have been doing well, they keep doing their business development in person too, right?
Oh,
They go
yes.
and like have coffee with old friends. They go and to networking events. They go and do speaking, and they try to just give themselves as many opportunities as possible for them to speak and talk about what they do. And not, I mean, and it's not necessarily like being super pushy, but they're getting themselves into a space where that door might open, right? It's
Yeah.
but if you're not going out and doing it, again, you're missing that opportunity. And so like going back to the whole like dating analogy, if you are, looking trying to find a significant other, but you just stay at home, no one's coming to your door, right? So you
Right.
need to go out there. You have to go to the bars, you have to go out to, a park, wherever, and try to meet other people and give yourself that opportunity and chance to to find potential clients.
Yeah, David. Speaking of conferences, I was at one a few weeks ago, or almost a month ago now, in California. I was a speaker there, and one thing I always have is like my QR code on my business card, but I also have it on my wall on my digital wallet because you never know where you're gonna meet next client or also connector, right? So as an entrepreneur, you are working with there's like a few categories we're trying to work with. Clearly, those potential customers or leads or prospects, right? You're trying to nurture them. There are also
Yeah.
people who are maybe help you connect to those communities, right? Or people that maybe help you connect to other who you can collaborate with. So as you're doing this entrepreneurial journey, there is this you're having multiple relationships that you're working with. This is why on Vibe we have service pages for client-facing work, and we have meeting
Hmm.
pages for networking, collaboration, those kind of things, right? And coaches here,
Yeah.
I think, a really good opportunity. For example, we often I think with most of coaching is word of mouth, we say referrals. There's a missed opportunity in our field to recommend other providers who do things that we don't do,
Hmm.
right? So like, because realize people don't know what coaching is until they get coached. Like people don't often look for coaching unless they've already coached themselves or they've been coached and they're saying, oh, coaching is about transformation, transitioning, creating new, getting my goals through this process model, right? So
Yeah.
let's say someone comes to me, and this real story. I had a client from New York. They a kid may have a developmental learning issue, so I kind of walking through this process and make sure the family's healthy, right? A few weeks in, she asked me, she's like, you've been a great coach. This is really helpful. I'm also stressed because my kid, but also my mom, is getting older. Sugar's going up. Doctors say lose
Mm.
weight, put on medication. You're a great coach. Can you coach her for weight loss? And I was like, I could. I've done it for not long enough time for a company where I did work for that did weight loss. I'm effective enough at it. I'm like, but I really focus on mental health is my thing where I would really enjoy. I go, what's better for me and your mom? Someone who loves this stuff. Let me refer to you on Vibely, right? And so when someone knows, oh, coaching is transition and change, there's an opportunity to refer to someone else, other people as well. And so the more we do this, people sometimes say they're worried about competition. People know what we do. We need to collaborate first before people understand kind of before we get to that point. That's way down the line to
Yeah.
compete.
Well, I mean, the whole thing about competition is like, really, how many people can you coach in a year? And yeah, you don't want really, you don't want to work with everybody, honestly. Like naturally,
100%.
we have people we vibe with, who we connect with. Like I feel like we kind of have this
Yeah.
connection that we can have a conversation. And it's not a lot of work, right? But
Right.
you don't want to work with a client who you don't have that rapport with. And so if you can refer it to another person, then that's fantastic, right? The one of the guests I had for my show, he's in Singapore and he has a network of coaches where they all work together, and when they get asked to come to a company to do, for interviews for coaching, they're like, actually, this leader, I don't really match with this person, but I have a friend who would do a lot better with him. And so they recommend each other. And so they have like a little group of coaches and friends who
Yeah.
they work together on larger projects, but they also end up referring each other. And so that idea of partnership is so helpful because, one is like coaching is a very solitary kind of business that you run, right? And, you know, so having partners that you can refer to, but then you end up being able to talk to as well about building the business. Because,
Yeah.
you know, as what's funny is like coaches, you help with transformation and how, if it's leadership or business development, you know all of the things, right? You're an expert, but you can't really coach yourself. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And so,
You can't. Yeah.
right, like physician heal thyself. You it's you
You can't
know
ask yourself a question
mentally.
you wouldn't have thought about. That's why you can't coach yourself.
Yeah.
The whole point is someone else with
Yeah.
a different perspective asking you a question to think about, right? That's why it's
ex-
impossible to. I can make a smart goal for myself, but I can't ask myself an exploratory question that I haven't thought about or
yeah,
reflect back to myself.
exactly. And so like having those partnerships, one to, build business and build business relationships is great, but building partnerships and relationships to have like community to help each other and support each other, I think is super like it's very necessary.
No, I think it's. I'll be honest with you, it's the backbone of entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, frankly, health and well-being. I gave a talk yesterday. The biggest predictor of longevity is the quality of social connections. And to your point, being a solo coach can be very lonely, right? And I've been there, and sometimes I see people doing even the right thing, just not doing it long enough because they have no
Mhm.
expectations. So, and here's a trick to all our coaches. This is why this is a big reason why I value the community. I would hear awesome ideas from coaches, but I have no one to do this with, or I wish I had a accountability. And I'm like, what if I put you guys all in a room together? And here's the thing, coaches, if you haven't noticed, we tend to help others more than ourselves for many reasons. So we're givers. Maybe we're putting off our own work to help something else. We can, that's a whole other discussion, right? But we tend to help
Yeah.
others more ourselves, and we're very helpful people. So go to a coaching community. If you're on Violet, for example, find an accountability buddy. I see people who they're stuck on creating a profile. They're just having their about me or their qualification, or some area. And you go on the in the. I've had these live hours, and I would ask people, what they're working on. Some people are stuck on, oh, I'm not sure what to do for my video, or I'm not sure what to do for this and this. Let's do breakout rooms, coach each other. We'll meet next week for accountability. Next week, they've all done their stuff, right? And so that is tremendously helpful. It's very community is one of the most things that insulate you from burnout, right?
Mm.
And so being a solopreneur doesn't mean you have to be by yourself, either in like the journey. And if you don't like certain things, find collaborators who can do those things for you, right? Like if you're not liking editing videos and that drains you entirely, find someone who does that for you, right? Your
Yeah.
solopreneurship does not mean you don't work with or collaborate with others in either a, kind of subcontractor role or again, just that community support. And I think we need that because we don't share enough what's working for us, social support, proof of concept, balancing ideas. Again, we're not competing for the same people, and we are just different people
Yeah.
in each other. I'm going to attract a different clientele than someone else will. And we just have to both
Yeah.
get out there, and if we can collaborate on this, I think that's why I've seen the biggest change in people's success rate when they find an accountability buddy, go to the forum, swap coaching with someone else, and just help yourself be consistent in this learning process, right? So you can make things. Someone in the chat said they loved it. This is leadership in one sentence. When you treat every challenge as figure outable, you stop reaching and start directing the path forward. And I think a lot of coaches, when I talked to this, a lot of these conversations recently, the good news, coaches, is that we actually know what to do. It's to figure it out, right? We don't have our clients say, here's our plan for the next 6 months. We know your long term outcome, kind of the North Star, but then we work on, from pit stop to pit stop. And then that star might change, right? Because you do the road, like, well, actually, no, I don't want to go off roading. I want to go this road instead, right? So just having that consistency and saying, you have the tools there. Be like your clients, be brave. Bravery requires fear. Learning requires not knowing, right? If you're hungry to learn, go ahead and figure it out with someone, with community, in parallel, in teams.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you guys have the Vively community and that you guys have like accountability partners because you can challenge each other to work on, okay, so let's do the profile together, and then next week let's work on our lead magnet together, and then the next week we'll work on our nurture campaigns together, right? You don't have to do it alone, and by having a community, you have people who can help you, right? And I, I mean, we we didn't build our societies, our cultures on our own. We built it together. And if as a coach, most coaches they want to add and help people. So help each other.
Yeah, and I really think that's where the tides will grow, right? Because more people, I think also I'm going to call to action to coaches to be more proactive on explaining what coaching is, right? Because talk about the marketing funnel, and one difficulty I think we should address in our profession is that, let's say compared to if you're a dentist, right? If let's say I'm a dentist and I just graduated, I want to start my dental clinic, right? People already know what dentists are actually, right? No one's confused at what a dentist is and why they need one. If they go or not, it's a different story. But like they understand the value prop, everything. And they just gotta know, hey, there's a dental clinic on this corner by this guy who's bilingual and does work for
Yeah.
kids and adolescents or whatever it is, right? They gotta be aware of me now. We as a coaching profession need to both explain what coaching is and what we do and how we do it. And
Yeah.
so the reality is I love the coach organizations that really helped make this a little easier. The ICF, the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches, right? But the reality is we cannot be reliant on them to change the world and explain to everyone what it is. They'll do the big part of certifying. We have to get out there, talk to our friends and family, talk to our community, let people know, hey, create a workshop. What the hell is coaching? Right? Like
Yeah.
inform people. I think there's a lot of coaches early on, I see them almost freeze and become a passive role, waiting for organizations to do it. Be like,
Hmm.
if we all do this in parallel, we're a big community. But in parallel, if we all talk to our communities locally, people will understand this. And I, I, I'll say this one quick story. When I moved to this apartment last year, my realtor at one point he was asking me, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a coach." He's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Can I ask you something?" Actually, I just started a coaching platform. I was like, "Do you mind just giving your first time experience as a client? Trying to find a coach here. What do you think?" Right? And so he goes on his tablet, and he got matched with like leadership and executive coaches. He wants to do his own firm one day, right?
Yeah.
And we asked him a few questions. What do you want to work on? This kind of stuff. And then when he saw his match score, he goes, "Wait, can my aunt use this? Her cholesterol is terrible." 5 minutes ago, he had no idea what a coach was. And
Yeah.
now he's ready to refer someone who can because he went through the question process and he saw through the lines. Oh, these people help people make changes in leadership and weight and this and this. Oh, he really quickly got it. So it's
Yeah.
on us to really educate and teach you what we're doing and be
Yeah.
patient with that. But the more consistent we are, the more people will then become, oh yeah, I got to make change. Talk to a coach.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, being a coach as a from a business standpoint is probably one of the hardest things to be doing because there's such a lack of understanding of what is coaching outside of like sports coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you're not only trying to educate people about what it is that you do, but then you have to, you have to do everything else. But when you have to educate them, like that they have a problem and that you can help them with it, that's just another level. And so by more coaches being out there talking about what coaching is and the value that it brings to people's lives. And this is why I talk about in my podcast, the lives that are changed through coaching because there's so many people who don't even realize that it can literally like save a person's life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's you know you got to talk about those things because that's what we're doing here. We're trying to help people, trying to help. make their lives better, not just for themselves, but for their families and for their workplaces, you know. And I can't I can't really I mean, this is one of the most noble things that you can be doing, honestly.
Yeah, and David, I think the this ties me to something I might have said in other episodes, but one of my mentors, something you might mention in the hour was about, um, if you want to help people out, you got to figure this out. And one of my mentors, when I was training, I was doing a lot of pro bono work. I do a lot of help with the communities, and she just pulled me aside. She's like, Diego, I know you're really caring, but I want to give you some perspective. She's like, if you only do this pro bono, only give this away, you're gonna have a different way to put food on your table and a roof over your head. So this can only become your hobby, and you can only do your hobbies on Sunday afternoon. So if you want in your lifetime to serve and help the most people out, figure out how to make this more sustainable. Right. And so kind of this really, again, us coaches tend to help others more. So here's a good example of putting the mask on yourself first. If you want to help others more, as you said earlier, figure it out. It's figure outable how you can get out there, right? And so don't do it if you really want to give that gift to the world. Let's get creative, get nitty gritty, right, and do
Yeah.
it. And so one thing we can say too is another kind of strategy is that because people don't always know what coaching is, we don't always have to sell or lead with coaching, right? So I say, for when I do workshops, I say, you know your audience. If you don't know, ask them what they want, speak to their language, and you often want to show value or give them something, nurture that by showing that you know something about what they're already looking for to learn more about, or you really understand them, right? And the example I often give is as a former pediatrician, I could say, instead of saying, hey, I do coaching for parenting, I can do a workshop. 5 myths about sleep training for kids. How to help your kids sleep so you can sleep too. Right? Oh, I know new parents really struggle with sleep training. They want to sleep, they're exhausted. They want to know more. They want to talk to a human about this, hear something. Oh, and in that group of people who go, maybe 10% will be more curious to learn more what I do. I didn't know parenting coach is a thing. I need help more than just my sleep. I'm also worried about blah, blah, blah. Oh, you help with emotion regulation. Oh, you help adolescents too, right? Or show that you know that audience well. I know Coach. I mentioned some story as well too, David. She's from abroad and she's executive coach, and her niche is helping executive like foreigners, expats, immigrants who are moving to
Right.
new lands thrive there, right? So she can talk more about that journey, understand that population well. So get creative, and if you don't know, this is the time to do research. Why do you and I know a lot about how to help coaches, David? Because we've talked to thousands of coaches. This wasn't we have our hypothesis, but
Yeah.
like good scientists, we train or we test our hypothesis. If coaching is
Yeah.
about just trying trial and trial and trial, you got to do the same process for yourself and your business.
Hmm. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So we're kind of coming to the top of the hour here. Obviously, time kind of flies. Maybe have you back
Yeah.
on or do more work together, which hopefully we'll announce some stuff soon. But as we're kind of rounding down here, if you could give me like maybe a final message or kind of one takeaway that you really wish people could take from this episode, kind of moving forward.
I mean, the biggest thing is that as a coach, as an entrepreneur, you need to get out of your own head and start talking about what you're doing. Be okay with, you know, not perfect, but get it out there as quickly as possible so that people can start to find out who you are and what you do. Because the more conversations that you have, the better that you can refine your message over time so that, in 2 3 years, you have a really clear message. But the sooner you start talking to people, the sooner you can start actually working and helping people as well.
Mm. Plan through today is what I'm hearing. Plan today, learn today, right? Like don't let
Yeah.
perfection be into greatness, and that these people see, well, I'm not you. Well, I've been doing this for 8 years. Like I'm still learning every day, but man, my elevator speech took me a good part of a year to get down. Right? Like
Yeah.
if you see someone do something easily, it's because they put a lot of effort into making it look easy. Nothing that looks
Yeah.
easy is easy, but it just requires effort and time. And I had a friend who was kind of similar story or similar analogy here, David. Someone was skating and did some cool trick, and someone says, "Listen, if you see a human do it, you can do it too." It's kind of how it works. So, David, really thank you
Yeah.
so much for kind of this important conversation. And I think the main message is we have to, as coaches, stop getting in our way. Take that fear, be brave about it, and learn from doing. The answers are in the process, not in the planning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So David, thank you so much. And I know you mentioned this too, but where can people find out more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, David Chung, and then also you can find me at my website, kyber5.com, so KYBERFIVE.com. And we have Coach Ops is our flagship product, right? And basically, we help coaches we install our marketing framework so that instead of trying to figure out all of that technology and the systems and processes, we give you all of the templates and we walk you through how to build it out.
Great, David. And for everyone listening to as well, we're doing, if you're a listener of the podcast, if by this Sunday you sign up and type in podcast 20 into checkout, you'll get a 20% off of Vibely's next 3 months after 30 days free trial. So we've lowered the barriers for you so you can plant that seed and just get started. Take care, everyone. We'll see you very soon. Happy Thanksgiving. We're going to take that week off. We'll see you back in December. And thank you so much, David, again, for sharing your wisdom and all your experience with us in our community.
All right. Thank you so much.